This is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin from Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Barb Gulin provides her clients and prospects the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful strategies to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now here is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin.
Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Gulin, and I am here with my co-host, Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
I am doing great today, Barbara. Great to be here with you. Thanks for having me on your show once again. I'm excited. I always love doing the show. We always have fun talking before the show, during the show, and after the show. It's fun. Great to get together each week to do this. And I know you have another fun one, a good one, a very informative lined up for us. But first, I have to tell you, I'm doing great. You know, I'm from the state of Minnesota, Barbara.
Yes, you
and
are.
Minnesota has the second largest state fair in the United States.
Does it really?
It does.
Only surpassed by Iowa, or who?
No, it's much bigger than the Iowa State Fair. Texas,
Wow.
but
Everything's
Texas is
bigger in Texas.
That's what they say, but Texas is only bigger because, number one, they have more square footage or acreage that their fair is on. Ours is huge, but theirs is even a little bigger.
Okay.
And it lasts a half week longer. But daily attendance, ours is the largest. We had 230,000 people on Saturday.
Oh my gosh!
Through the gates at the Minnesota State Fair. It's called the Great Minnesota Get Together, and it's probably the biggest of it is the biggest event in the state each year. And
I want to go.
It is huge. It is amazing. The food they have there is amazing. I mean, from the deep fried Twinkies to the cheese curds, anything deep fried or on a stick that you could imagine. So what I like to tell people when I go is I go, have fun at the fair, eat healthy. Because there are no
nothing green there on purpose, huh?
No, there's probably a place somewhere that sells salad, but you'll never find it.
Okay, good.
Because there are literally thousands of vendors. They have A-list artists. They have a free stage that every night has B-list artists that are nationally known, and then the grandstand has huge artists every night. It's pretty amazing.
So what you're telling me is if I come next year, I have to do what I do before I go on a cruise and lose 5 pounds before I come?
Yeah. And you'll definitely want to have a plan to lose weight after you go to the state fair. That's the thing.
Or maybe just go straight to chelation to clean out my arteries from all the tramp.
Yeah, you'll be able to. Yeah, the deep fried foods, you can actually feel your arteries harden as you go from booth to booth and eat the food.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. But
yeah,
wow.
But there's some amazing food at the Minnesota State Fair and some wild things. But that's what I did last weekend. How about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been enjoying the break in the weather and the cooler temperatures. And I have been doing some research for a book that I'm getting ready to write. Didn't talk to you about that beforehand, but we are looking at a couple of different topics to bring out for our listeners and for the people that we meet with to give them kind of a handbook and a how-to help them get ready to retire successfully.
Oh, wow, that's great. And I know that once you write the book, we'll be able to give away some copies on the show to our listeners and our viewers.
And I can't wait to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know it's a ways off. You're in the research phase, but Barbara, you're the perfect person to write a book because you've had so much experience, and you usually like to turn things and look at things from a different angle than the typical average financial advisor out there. You have a unique perspective, and that alone will make your book well worth reading, I'm sure.
Well, thank you. And I hope we can interject enough humor into this
that
I'm sure. It's as painless as possible, but the information out there.
Yep.
So,
yep. So today we're going to talk about some of these things that'll probably be in the book. What's our topic?
We are talking about 3 do's and don'ts for your finances in your 20s.
Oh, wow. Okay. Finances in your 20s. Okay. So our listening audience may skew older than that, but if they do, I'm sure they have children or grandchildren that fit into this that they can tell about this.
They probably do. I mean, I myself have a newly minted 22-year-old.
And I have an 18, a 20, and a 24. So this is perfect. And I'll make sure they watch this YouTube video or listen to the podcast.
Yeah, well, because we went out to dinner for her 21st birthday, and I'm not going to say the name of the restaurant, but it's one where it features a lot of fondue. Okay?
Okay, sure.
And
sure.
I love my kid. It took forever to have dinner that night.
Yep. I know the restaurant you're talking about. It's a chain, and they have one in Nashville, and I remember going there. I've only been to that restaurant in 2 different locations twice, and I vowed to never go again because I don't have that kind of patience for a meal.
And I told my daughter, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, we are going to go to a steakhouse.
Yes.
Where my food comes to me cooked. I can get the appetizer that I want, and the waiter doesn't forget I'm still there for the last hour of the evening.
Yeah.
But I'm not bitter.
Yeah. No, I've had that same experience, and I know most people have. In fact, twice. It's just even if the wait staff there does what they're supposed to, it's a long, drawn-out process, and people seem to sit there forever. I don't know how that's economically viable or financially viable to the company, because usually restaurants
they're not turning a table. Yeah,
they're not turning tables there. That is just it's a date place for young couples to go and just hang out, I think, is the vibe I got. It's not a place if you really want a full meal, I don't think it's a great choice. But anyway, we digress.
No, we digress.
The fondue is great, I have to say.
It is. That part I liked, and I liked the dessert. You know, if they could cook the main course for me in the middle, I could hack it. But
that's true.
I asked so much.
Well, no, you don't. That's just a weird, unique situation. But talking about, I know we do have some listeners who are in their 20s and viewers. And I'm sure they'll find this show via social media and keywords. So hopefully they'll be viewing this. Where do you want to start? What should we do to create a financial future when we're in our 20s? And I'm curious as to what you have to say so I can pass it along or show this to my kids.
Well, and the first thing I'm going to say is that as soon as you get that job, whatever job that is,
right,
I want you to start a Roth IRA. And if you happen to be going into a profession like engineering or something in the medical field or something in the IT industry where it's possible that your starting salary could be higher than the Roth IRA contribution limits, definitely reach out to us, because we have some strategies and ways that we can help them implement that, even without, legally, obviously, but help them work around those income restrictions, because, taxes are going to be the biggest monster when it comes to eroding your retirement nest egg, especially for this younger generation.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And so you hate to tell somebody in their 20s to start thinking about their tax situation down the road, but it's like that old saying, and I probably already said this on the show a million times because it's so true when it comes to planning for your financial future. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago is the answer. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. But the second best time is today. And so I bet you have a lot of people who come to you in their 50s who say, whether it's 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, when they first come to you and say, hey, I need a retirement plan, I bet you have a lot of them say, man, I just wish I would have started this a long time ago when I was in my 20s.
Absolutely. And it's something that, that's part of why my team and I decided that this would be a great podcast topic for us to tackle, is that there aren't a lot of advisors talking to these younger people. Right. So the only way to start the conversation is to start the conversation.
Right. Exactly. And so start a Roth IRA is the number one thing. And I will tell you, my daughter Allison and her boyfriend Chris both recently started Roth IRAs.
Good for them. Yep. Almost like you work with financial advisors a lot and get some information.
They came to me actually because they didn't learn anything about this in high school.
Which I think is just unconscionable.
Yeah, no one told them this in high school, but in college, they both had a great financial professor who talked about accounting and finance, who said, you should look into this. And that kind of affirmed what they had heard me talk about. And they've heard me talk about Roths because I've talked to you about Roths and you talk about them. So they came to me and said, Dad, is this what we should do? Is this a good idea? And I said, yeah, you started now. You're going to be set.
Yeah. I mean, it's just insane. If you look at Einstein's eighth wonder of the world, compound interest.
Yep.
If they max out their Roth IRAs just for the next 10 years, they, because of compound interest, will have more money than somebody that waits until their 30s or 40s to start and funds it all the way through retirement.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
It's crazy.
And they have the time horizon. They have the time on their side to make more money. So because they can weather the 2022s, it's not going to hurt them.
Right. If anything, they're buying stuff on sale in the 2022.
Because they're constantly putting money in and buying more and buying more into that account, into that IRA account. And a Roth IRA comes out tax-free, even the gain. So I get that one. So that's number one, the thing to do to create your financial future. And if you want to be wealthy in the future, start a Roth IRA, pay yourself first. That's good. What's number two?
Number two is to participate in your employer's retirement plan, at least up to the matching funds, because that is free money that you're getting, and you're leaving money on the table if you choose not to participate. When my daughter got a job where a 401k was offered, she came in and was filling out her employment paperwork, and they happened to have a Roth 401k option as well.
Nice.
And I filled it out, and she's like, how much am I putting in? And I'm like, how much are they matching? And she told me, and I'm like, that's how much you're putting in.
Right.
And she's like, but my paycheck's going to be lower. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
You start paying yourself now.
Yes.
Discipline yourself to do it now.
Yep. And I like that a lot of companies, it defaults to taking money out. You have to actually uncheck it. That's a new law. That's going to start taking effect. More and more companies are already doing that. But when you start work at a new company, like when my two daughters get out of college, or actually now they're starting to get some full-time job work, at least in the summer, where they have a 401k, they're automatically enrolled, but only to 3%. And sometimes they can match up to 6%. So you gotta make sure you're putting in at least as much to get the full match, right?
Yep. And it's all about being intentional with things.
Yep.
So, then
what else? Ahead. Yeah. No. So obviously taking advantage of employment retirement plans is huge, and you shouldn't do that without advice too. Talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. I mean, obviously sometimes HR does, sometimes HR people don't know what they're doing. So I would say, work with a financial advisor. If your parents don't already have one, they should have one.
And from my experience, most HR people aren't licensed and legally shouldn't be offering the advice.
Right.
Frequently, a 401k company will bring in a representative.
Yes.
but even then, sometimes they don't know. I mean, I remember when Adam was in the financial services industry many, many years before I was, and we weren't even married yet, working for an employer. And my bosses were asking me to ask Adam how they should be invested in their 401ks.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like 30 years ago. So
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So is there anything else a 20-something should do to make sure they create their financial future correctly?
They need to get their student loans paid off.
Yeah. Yep. That's a big one right now. That's crippling a lot of people is student loan debt, isn't it? I mean, that's huge. Maybe.
And it needs to be more than the minimum payment. And if I'm talking to anybody out there who hasn't taken on any loans yet, or who's thinking about it and who's thinking about school, number one, there is no shame in going to community college to get your first couple of years of basics work.
To avoid those building up that debt, to avoid those big college loans, student loans.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, frequently a community college credit hour is a fourth to a third of what it is at a larger school, easily.
Much less, yeah.
And there's also nothing wrong with going to school part-time and working part-time so you can pay your way through school.
Yep, that's smart. The smart ones do that, and then they're out of school debt free. And so, not everybody has uber wealthy parents that can just foot the entire bill for them, and there's no loans involved. We try to help our kids, but even we don't have the money to pay all of what they need. We make them work and save. We've made them put money in 529s, and so they would have less in student loans. And we encouraged our kids to do their first 2 years at a community college. Even if you want a 4-year degree, get the first 2 years in at a community college where it's so much less, and then finish off at a school where they specialize in what you want. Or just just avoid all that and go to a trade school that's 2 years. You're going to cut off. You're going to be making really good money if you go to a trade school for the right trade. And it's going to be shorter. It only takes 2 years and a lot less expensive.
And a lot of times when you're in a trade school, you've got an apprenticeship that's paying you while you're learning.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's some of the things kids go to school for nowadays and major in. It's like if they want to ever make money in the future, it's going to be tough. You know, I'm not trying to squash dreams, To follow your dreams, it's a fine line between, do I follow my dreams? Every kid, I want to be in the music business, or I want to be an artist, or, I want to be a philosophy major or an art major. Well,
don't saddle yourself with the debt for the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're going to a private school, a college now, and, before any scholarships, it's like $60,000 a year, and you're running up student loan debts, and you come out with a philosophy degree or an art degree, paying off the debt from 4 years of that in that field is going to be next to impossible.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, that's the tough thing.
Yeah. And, for those of you out there who have some student loan debt that need a strategy, want some help, by all means, reach out to us, because we help everybody. And for us, advising and planning isn't just for right when you're getting ready to retire. I believe everybody's entitled to education and needs to learn. And, I don't self-diagnose my medical issues.
Right.
I go to a doctor.
Exactly.
And I certainly, I do some of my own home repair, but, when it gets too deep in the weeds, I'm sorry, when my air conditioner shot craps last week during the heat wave, I called somebody who knew what they were doing.
Yes, exactly.
But how about we move on to the 3 things not to do in your 20s?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is stay away from consumer debt. Do you need to build a credit history, yes. Get one credit card. Use it to buy your groceries or to pay for your gas, and then turn around and pay it off right away.
Right.
But, I remember when I was in college, everybody wanted to give me a credit card.
Yep. When my kids turn like 17, 18, they start coming in the mail for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I tear them up and throw them all away before they can see them.
Now, if they're going to get a credit card, I would encourage them to find one that offers extra benefits. And for me, I have a credit card in particular that they take the time to go through and scrub all of my personal information from the top 10 or 15 of those people search websites where you can go in and plug in a name and a city and get all kinds of information.
Yep.
Okay. Protecting yourself from identity theft. That's one of the most basic ways that you can do it, because what these websites are doing is taking stuff that's public record and making it really, really easy for it to be found.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. So your credit card company does that for you.
My credit card company does it for me. I did it myself at first whenever I would and I would do things like Google myself or go onto those websites and find myself and find out what they had about me, and then go through the steps to opt out to have my information removed. That's obviously should have been on the list of dues. That's a bonus. But it will help protect your credit history and make it harder for somebody to steal your identity in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. And if you're going to have a credit card or going to use it, you have to pay it off each month, and you should get one that has good perks. I mean, credit cards offer different perks. You should have that. So what's something else not to do for your financial future?
Don't ignore your finances. Okay. Now is a good time if you haven't learned how to put together a spending plan. I don't like calling them budgets. Okay.
Yeah.
Now is the time to learn how to do it so that you learn what your spending habits are, what adjustments you need to make. If you're having trouble managing things with a debit card, go to cash and put it in envelopes for specific things, especially when it comes to those variable expenses like entertainment, so that you learn how to take control of your finances instead of letting your finances dictate what's going on with you.
Smart. Yeah, exactly. So, obviously, take control of your finances. Don't ignore them. And I know the budget is a dirty word. We don't want to use the B word here. Call it a spending plan. And once my wife and I sit down and do it, Barbara, it's like a burden has been lifted. Once we know where you're at financially each month and what you have coming up, it's just, then you don't have to worry about it. And it relieves. Finances cause so much stress, but they don't have to.
No.
You stay on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And what's the next thing?
The last thing we're going to talk about is I don't want you to worry about keeping up with the Joneses.
Huh. Yep.
Okay. Social media is everybody's highlight reel.
Yeah.
It is not the reality. So when you see the new houses, the new clothes, the vacations, I have a terrible shoe habit. Okay. But I'm also notorious for shopping on sale. But once you click on one shoe ad on social media, you get like 5,000 of them.
Yes.
And I will tell you from personal experience, I went from clicking on websites where the shoes were very reasonably priced to then all of a sudden they're sending me to websites where shoes are like in the realm of house payments for a pair of shoes.
Yikes.
And I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen with this girl.
No, that's not good. That's not good.
But, your peace of mind is worth so much more than a social media post.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Save up, treat yourself, And do it so that you don't have the guilt or so you're not trying to figure out how to pay the bill after it's done.
There you go. Yeah. Well, Barbara, that's great advice. Well, this has been a great show, but for maybe families out there listening, people listening who want to know how they can help save or pay for their kids' college so they don't have to run up the student loan debt, or for the 20-somethings who want to know more or how to get that Roth IRA set up, how can they get a hold of you?
They can reach out to us at our website for this podcast, anchoryourretirement.com. Or you can always call our office directly at area code 913-553-6222 and ask for the scheduling and the appointment prompt. And somebody on our team, if they don't answer it right then and there, will reach back out to you and set up a meeting, complimentary consultation with one of our fiduciary advisors to help make sure you're on the track to navigate to a successful retirement.
Sounds good. Well, Barbara, great show today.
Yes,
Listeners,
Tony.
Get a hold of Barbara. AnchorYourRetirement.com is the web address. And that does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barbara Gulin.
See you soon.
Thank you for listening to Anchor Your Retirement. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound retirement plan. For more information, please contact Barb Gulin at Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. Call 913-553-6222 or visit them online at anchoryourretirement.com.
Advisory services are offered through Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Kansas. All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.